I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone this morning. Have you had an opportunity to look at minutes?
Make a motion to approve minutes from previous meeting.
I'll second that. Motion's been made and seconded to approve minutes. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Agenda items?
I don't have anything to add. A couple of housekeeping things.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made to approve the proposed agenda. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We just really only have the one thing on the agenda, consider quotes for West Annex roof replacement.
Yeah, we had this in our budget for 15-16. We had posted the notice for bidding, and we got one proposal from Hedberg and Son for $31,860.80.
That's on the West Annex.
What kind of roof?
Just like these that
Is that a flat roof?
Very, very small slope. It's,
Yes,
it's
very
just
slight.
a very, very small. A couple of years ago, we had it, when we had all that wind and rain, it raised the membrane, and they come in, and it's fairly old. And
I think it's one of the oldest ones we have.
remove existing Duralast membrane and EPS foam. That's what's on there.
That's what's on there now. And,
Yeah.
and that's been a good roof, but this is a better product.
It's the same assembly that we did at the courthouse.
Yes.
They're indicating that they could lessen the bid to approximately $25,000 if we wanted to reduce our insulation, but that's not a
Good idea.
no, that's a I'm glad they bid on it. We've had good service from them and good workmanship. We've been pleased with the work that they've done.
So that's the footprint of the outreach center and West Mill.
Yes. Yes.
Does that get the outreach center as well?
We're doing the east side of that West Annex.
Okay.
Would it do any good to put a pitched roof on it? Is it even feasible in that building?
The part of the issues are that it's connected to the next one, and
Who owns the property to the east?
Tony Smith.
Tony?
And I think
For now.
I think the roof on that's
Oh, that building's shot.
I think it's quite bad.
And that property was on the
Tax
sale.
Oh, was it?
So we got a shared wall with that man.
Yes.
Also,
I think the wall's okay. It's just that the roof, it's an old tar roof. Not rock and tar, but a tar paper roof.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid for $31,860.80 for West Annex roof replacement.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the bid. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Later there'll be a discussion as to what we do with that building if case management is discontinued, which it's not a choice we want to make, but if the state forces it.
Well, you still have the family development center
Right,
there.
Yeah.
I don't know what other space you've got available.
There's a tile.
I know they've expressed interest in having our new view and there are other new opportunity stuff in that same facility, because of the need to provide utilities in 2 spots, phone, computer. I don't know.
How much space does new occupy over here? Is it that
One.
downstairs?
Yeah, isn't there 2 different rooms they use downstairs?
Yeah.
Well,
They pretty much take the whole downstairs.
the second judicial used to be in there.
Is that where new op is now? I thought, is
Yeah.
that Jane?
Gene
what's her
Wilhelm, yeah.
And that Coster's back there in that northeast corner. Oh,
name? Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not sure, that, like for our, we won't have a case service coordinator directly in Sac County. The Lisa Mayers in Calhoun, Louise Galbraith's in Crawford, and the gal from Cherokee serves BB in Cherokee. Last Rolling Hills meeting, Calhoun County agreed to serve as the home county for the advocate. So she can be supervised by Lisa Mayer in Calhoun County. So that was one thing that had to be sorted out. Just for a bit of information with that, there'll have to be, there's going to be a job description and a 2080 arrangement among the counties for the advocate, and that'll be coming in July at some point.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve that tile repair in the city of Early for $500. Ryan Finke is doing the work.
motion's been made and
I'll second it.
seconded for the proposed tile repair in Section 4 Boyer Valley, Sac County, for a cost of $500. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Any other business, Jim?
Next Tuesday, the 30th, is the last day of the fiscal year, and the board will have to meet later that day to count the cash. I talked to Nancy Allen in the recorder's office, and she said that they'd be ready sometime after 3:30. So,
Whatever works.
I'll be here.
I'll be here. Whatever time.
Okay.
and I got an email from Tom Schutz with Group Services. And let's see. He had a proposal for Rennell and Dean to review, and I think you handed that to him.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And then he was looking at some dates for a meeting to discuss the next step in that procedure. And Monday or Tuesdays work for him, 6th, 7th, 13th, 14th, or 20th, so I'll just coordinate that with him. And
Okay. I attended
Preferably on
a
a
meeting
Tuesday.
at Storm Lake this past weekend in July went as well. It was just informational only, and I brought a slide presentation that they
What were
printed
them
back
dates?
to look at, and trying to figure out what to do about trying to position yourselves to not have to pay this excise Cadillac tax fee. And I think he visited briefly the last time he was here at our meeting, said this is coming. There's a significant change in 16, 17, the groups of less than 100 are only going to be able to use an age rating system. And there's been an extension that has extended it to 17 now. It was originally supposed to take effect in 16. And that that threshold just makes a difference as to how they rate when they present your renewal. And they are not allowed to use pre-existing history, it's age only at that point, which is gonna be a real inflationary effect because everybody's gonna rate. And in one way, you can't blame them because they don't know, they're not gonna be able to tell in certain circumstances who they're picking out. If you only, okay, you're 56, that's what your rate is. And then 18 is when that Cadillac excise tax thing comes in, and that's really, really concerning because for people between 90 and 100 lives that they're insuring or plans, by 18 that could be looking at a 6-digit excise tax that you would have to pay the federal government before you went out to buy a plan, and then it balloons after that.
So if we had 100
Isn't a
employees.
balloon already?
It is, you know how I think about that,
How much-
but I'm just saying, it's
So if you had
really
100
concerning at 120,000 and 18, but it gets really concerning after that. I mean, like in the next 7 years, it'll be 70. So,
So how much, that's a tax on our employees' plan.
and it's,
So if it's 100,000, we had 100 employees, it's $1,000 per employee we're paying.
Just the tax, before the premium.
before the premium.
Before the pre, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And-
and that, the reason behind that was to help pay for the people that couldn't afford insurance. So our employees are gonna be taxed around, in the beginning, around 1,000 apiece.
And that's all employers will be facing that. It's not just a public entity thing.
So
It's everybody,
to
private
raise taxes to pay for everybody in some way.
But private business is gonna have the same concern.
So your take is, you know, we might consider, you know, the town will come, like, joining another entity to, like, through a 2080.
It looks to me like and this is just preliminary, just in preliminary evaluation, it looks to me like to have a viable operation, you need to join 1,000 to 1,500 lives and then do, have a captive and buy stop losses and operate on your own.
Get to 1,000 or 1,500 employees. Well, and pretty much all gonna be government employees of some sort.
It wouldn't have to be. I mean,
More than likely.
the consideration is open to anybody that you, and one of the big things would be is that you would need to have the same perspective, that you would need to have an idea of what kind of coverage you might want to cover, what kind of price controls that you would be interested in looking at. Just a number of things that you would need to have like thinking entities kind of.
Even if you joined all the government entities just within Sac County into some, you still don't have more than
You're correct.
400.
You're correct. And that, so
So then you're looking at joining with other counties.
multiple, and they may or may not be interested. This is just preliminary looking at what you might consider to try and.
If you don't provide insurance to our employees, you know, they can go to the exchange and get insurance. What's our fine?
Yeah. we have-
I think that's very fluid. I think initially, you financially, you might be better off doing that, but that'll be adjustable, and they're gonna make that something that you don't wanna
Yeah.
consider. That's my opinion. And I mean, all those things have to be on the table. I mean, you're gonna have to evaluate all those things. We're just looking at a preliminary, to try and, okay, what can you do? How can you position yourself not to have to pay this excise tax? And to me, it's very frustrating, a bunch of this was backloaded. A lot of people had no idea this was coming.
One day work better for you than.
Well, 6,
And to get this
Okay.
to pass, they put all the real negative results of it in the back years. And this is a big one.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it to a Tuesday. Anyway.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, other than that, it don't
Really
matter.
don't hear a whole lot about it anymore.
It's just coming on the radar, and there will be. That's one thing, I have to be very complimentary of group services and their administration. They are on the front end of this. They really do a good job, and that's one thing I'm really solid on, is there are a lot of entities and a lot of folks that don't really realize this is coming. Maybe hear just bits and pieces out there, and oh, it's 2018, it's way out there. Well, that's going to be here before you know it. So, not indicating that I have all the answers. I'm indicating that we're looking at possibilities.
What about the people that, like an individual that's not part of the group? And he or she, they buy a plan on their own?
That 16, 17 threshold is going to hit everybody, whether,
So
as I understand
in addition to paying more for your health insurance, your plan's gonna get taxed to pay for.
Well, on an individual basis, if you meet those thresholds, you could be looking at an excise tax as well, as I understand it. But the 16, 17, they will have that rating schedule that you'll go in and, I'm Dale Wagner, I'm 50 years old, you're going to pay the 50-year-old premium. They won't be able to look at your past history. I'm 50 years old, you get X amount of bill because you're 50. And that's the first step. And that applies to any entities with less than 100. So it was really interesting.
How many people were there?
Quite a few auditors actually. 35 maybe. So some of them had a staff or two with them. But like the bigger entities, the bigger employees, I would think Warren Hospital's above 100, so they would sidestep the first one, but in 18 they would have, and VT and VAPCO and any of those that are less than 100.
So if you gather all these plans together to meet the ceilings, do they all have to have the same plan?
You would do it similar, and this is all just thinking about it. You would have the ability to rate those folks within it. So Sac County might have a different rating than another county, because you can use history if you did your captive. So that's an evaluation that would have to be made. You would probably consider doing it. You'd have a discussion among the group. Okay, what are your goals? What do you want to provide? And you would probably do a similar situation and offer 4 or 5 different things like we do with the cell phone.
Hey Zach, this is Dean.
I mean, it could be very similar.
Yeah.
But even
We're
at
done,
that,
we're just
when you
wondering when-
compare Sac and Calhoun County, when they're totally self-funded, or not anymore, but were, there could be some still around in the area.
I'm sorry, Dean, I talked to him this morning.
Oh.
He said he'd be here.
He'll be here in 10 minutes.
Okay, he said 10:30.
So,
Yeah, I mean, that's all upon how you decide to set it up and what kind of arrangement or agreement that you can get.
Okay.
And again, that's all just evaluating and thinking about what can you do or what would you want to do.
Yeah.
If you look at the data, it looks like 1,000 is the minimum threshold, and 1,000 to 1,500 would probably be your optimum group size.
Does the country, you just wonder if everybody knows this is going on?
No.
I don't think we do.
No.
Well, if you're running for office, don't you think that'd be something the country's interested in?
I would hope so.
What do you think, Curtis?
I don't think they wanna talk about it. It's political suicide.
Yeah.
I wonder how
agree.
many people are out there that don't have insurance. I mean, it was a thing that you're supposed to have it regardless. You're
There's
gonna
still
pay
people
your,
that don't, though.
No.
Yeah.
The route for penalty was so weak that you, first you had to have, they can't pursue you to get it other than through some kind of government debt that you might, or asset that you might have. If you had a refund, they can collect your refund.
Just think of all the people that don't pay tax.
yeah.
Part of my
Or they,
disappointment is the first, a lot of these plans on the exchange have a very high deductible and very high copay. So they got catastrophic coverage out of it, but they didn't get any help on the front end. And so, that's, the positive thing of this is that if you did take a plan, there's catastrophic coverage, but the front end is non-existent.
are we in recess?
We will go into recess. We'll come out of recess.
Nice day.
About 80, they're saying?
Hasn't,
Boy, it cooled off last night.
it did.
We went to a ball game and I needed a coat.
Really?
Because it was, I don't know, 85. How'd the varsity do last night?
They lost 8-3, they got no hit, and yet they scored 3 runs.
Wow.
How do you do that?
A lot of errors.
There must be. There was one kid who, in the stats, he got hit by pitch 3 times.
Oh,
I mean,
that don't happen.
yeah, well, he has a tendency, it's a Michael Halbert kid.
Oh, I know.
He has a tendency, I think, to pretend like he's getting out of the way, but he really is. I think he leans into the damn thing.
He's not a real big kid.
No.
Anybody get on base, I guess.
Hey, you know, your on base percentage looks good that way.
Yeah, that's right. County crews with county trucks are graveling roads in Sac and Coon Valley townships, repairing some drain tile in Levy and Sac. Still doing a lot of blading. Roads are still not healing up real fast this year. I just don't know if the rain's doing it to us now or what, but it's just,
There's still some
yeah. Still hauling some rock out to some places and just trying to. Been a long process this
I was
spring.
on Boss the last couple of days, and there's, I mean, it'll be going along just fine, then all of a sudden it'll be.
Yep. And you know, obviously, construction traffic is wearing on Voss, and not much we can do about that at this point. But I know Mike is keeping track of what he's putting out there, so we can try to work something out with the DOT on that when it's all said and done. So. Also preparing equipment to start spraying the trees in the right of way, and doing some contract graveling in Cook and Wheeler townships. I believe last week we had talked about, the general question came up of how to pick what townships to gravel. That's one thing I did talk to Mike about a little bit, and generally he tries to pick the townships that are further away from our piles to haul gravel to, the contract hauls. That way we can do our own stuff closer. Generally, he tries to do that. Sometimes you see the two different spread out because a lot of it because of weather. You know, if it rains, I know just the other day he was, what was it, by Nemaha where he was hauling to, but they got hit with rain there. I think close to ½ inch, and he ended up moving down south, west of Odebolt or west of Wall Lake, and didn't have any rain down there, so he could keep going. So that's part of the reason why I think he splits them out sometimes. So. Highway 196, Heffron did get the dust control reapplied last week to those same locations basically as the first time. Hopefully we can get some dry weather for them too. I know I think the last time I talked with them, they're approximately a month behind their schedule. I think they're working. I believe they're working Saturdays and Sundays now from here on out if it's dry. So. Next thing on my list, I'll find it here. It's a right-of-way agreement for new Highway 20. District 3 sent this to me. I reviewed it with our staff. I think these are pretty well boilerplate right-of-way agreements, but basically it's for when they'll have to widen that area, obviously, when new Highway 20 goes through between Ida County line and west of Early. What they will do also is they will buy the right-of-way in Sac County's name that butts up against our secondary roads. So that's the other part of what this does.
That's what they did in the past.
It is, yep. It does talk about the access rights on this one are a little less than what it had been previously. It's classified as a little lower level. I don't know all their different tiers, but it's not in there specifically spelled out what the number is for access rights, but I called and talked with the district about that.
What do you mean?
What they do is they buy access rights to how far back we can put entrances and essentially obstructions in the right of way from the edge of their pavement. In the past, in the eastern part of Sac County and in Calhoun County, I believe they bought access rights that were 300 meters for almost 1,000 feet because they wanted to control what was going to be put in that 1,000 feet within their highway because they're dropping down a little bit lower level of, it's not level of service, but and the roads will be designed the same, so I'm not sure what they're changing, but those access rights will be probably closer to 150 feet is all they're gonna control. So, which is fine. I mean, we still have we can control what goes there when it comes into our secondary road anyway. So, but that's part of what's in this as well. So,
Back to 2 years ago or 3 on Highway 20. This is related to the grade. We were concerned about.
right. That'd be
like a 2% slope. It was proposed to a 4. And does the right of way this agreement, does that tie into?
no. There's nothing in that. When they start going through their design and we get a chance to review the plans they put together, we'll make sure that we're getting that 2% grade. I mean, all the areas that we have are flat enough. There should be no reason why they can't get 2%, in my opinion. I'd have to see what they design, but this has nothing to do with that. I guess they wouldn't acquire more or less right away based on that.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, I didn't.
Or you want an approval?
Yeah.
I'll make a
If
motion
you're so inclined.
Approve this right of way agreement with the Department of Transportation.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agreement. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I think there's a place to sign. Yeah.
You need 2 of them, or?
Yeah, they'd like 2 of them, and I'll make a copy for our files, and if you want one, Jim, I can get you one as well.
I don't think I need one, as long as you've got one.
Okay.
You have to sign too, Jim.
Okay.
the dirt road in Richland 30, we had some conversations with the property owner down there and decided that the first step we're going to do is try to gravel that section in lieu of doing the gating. He was in favor. The property owner was in favor of that, and I think that's going to be I'm hoping that's going to be a better solution than trying to put a gate there to keep people out. I think they would have tried to drive around the gate anyway. So
So are we gonna consider that in different places because we have that problem in other spots?
I think we can. I mean, it's
Right,
more roads
see
to
if it works.
maintain, but well, that might be one thing. Let's see how things. See if we have the same problems that we had before, or if now it becomes less fun because it's gravel on it, or
How many feet are we doing then? Like a quarter mile, half mile, mile?
I can't tell you off the top of my head.
You know,
So we have we have connection to two of those up in the Cedar area and one right south of Lytton there. Same problems.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get in there and tear it up and then drive off into the field.
Mm-hmm.
Is the landlord okay with this?
Yes. We talked with him, and he, he was basically, whatever you think is going to work. And we kind of explained to him the process of, if we do put gates up, we can't go on the railroad's private property. So, are they going to keep some people out? Maybe. Are they going to keep everybody out? I don't. My thought is no. So by doing this, maybe we're also providing a benefit to this property owner that I believe he's got some grain bins back there that he otherwise would haul out when it's dry. Now give him a little bit more of an all-weather access too. So I think there's.
I think it's a good option because it's trouble all over.
Mm-hmm. It's not a wide road. It's not I won't say it's a high-level service gravel road, but it will be at least a gravel surface compared to the dirt surface. So, but yeah, I would like to see how that works and what kind of traffic we get down there and how it works.
Sure.
I put together a draft resolution as it pertains to the speed limit on North 16th Street, north of the city limits. We talked about this before in previous meetings, but basically what Iowa code states is that you should have a speed study or traffic study done to determine what that speed limit shall be. The other information they have in there is they have speed limits based on types and types of district that it is. And so a suburban district has a speed limit of 45 miles per hour. With the amount of people that live out there, I think we can classify that as a suburban district, which to me would be a way to be able to make that be a 45 mile an hour speed limit without going through a traffic study. We can at least kind of see how that works, whether it's something that's going to help that situation out there and go from there. Otherwise, I think to go any further than that, I think we would have to do a traffic study, and if we did, my guess is the speed at which people travel out there would probably. I don't think we'd ever get below 45 anyway, because people are going to be driving faster than that in that section. So it'd be very hard to try to get a lower speed limit than that. But I think this is a start to try to see if that can help that situation and go from there. But basically, I took the resolutions, something that my predecessors have done in the past for when we tried to look at redoing a speed limit, and basically discussed talking about calling this a suburban district, and that's why we're changing the speed limit, not based on a speed study, since we haven't had one done. So if you're so inclined to go ahead and pass this, that you'd have my support behind it, I guess. But I wanted to at least present it to you and let people look at it. And
This is a member home, so
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adopt this resolution.
I'll second.
The motion's been made and seconded to approve this resolution. Is there any further discussion?
Jim, I don't know if you need anything else on this. I mean, I can get you a Word copy, or if you need it, or anything like that. But
No,
or if you want to have any other, I mean,
actually, if you
If
had
there-
a
if there-
signature line for the chairman, and then I'll assign a number to it.
okay, I can
Do
do
we need
that.
that before we can proceed, or?
No, we'll just get your signature at a later
Okay.
date.
Okay,
I think this is good action. I'm in favor. I'll call for the question being resolution. Heck, aye.
Stock, aye.
Drake, aye.
Okay.
I'll also look into, I have to look at where we're placing speed limit signs and that nature, what the distance is and whatnot. So
We should also heads up the sheriff's department that we are changing this and that we would ask them to monitor.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Did you contact Mr. Thompson?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
I did. And I told him that we were working on this and that this is kind of the first step in the process, and hopefully that will help if we can get that done and kind of proceed from there.
Okay,
So
thank you. All right.
we have offered the vacant equipment operator position that we have on the secondary road department to Aaron Wallace. He's accepted the offer and will begin employment with Sac County on June 30th. So
Will he be out of the SAC building?
he'll be out of the Sac building. Yep. I think he resides in Early right now, is where he lives. So
That allows him to get here for the
Yep.
appropriate time.
right. And I don't know if he's looking if whether he would look at moving closer or not. I really haven't gotten to into that yet. And I know what Mike likes to do is new hires, try to get him in the SAC building, and maybe there'd be option for him to move to a different location possibly too. But for the immediate time frame, I think he'll be in the SAC office to be able
my
to train and
question
learn
is-
and
just goes to being able to report as
Right.
appropriate.
right.
And that's all we ask.
Right. I know Mike was pretty said we'll find a way to get you to work. We'll try to do what we can to we need you to be at work, so we'll help you with that and try to make sure we can find a way to get you here when there's inclement weather and everything too. So but no, he will start next Monday, and I think he'll be a good fit.
Good.
How old is he?
I'd have to guessing. I'm gonna say middle 20s, 26, maybe 27. I'm just again guessing.
Start Monday or Tuesday?
Is the 30th Tuesday? It is
If it's
Tuesday
the young
then.
man,
Sorry.
I think it is. I think he's.
It would be
close to my
Tuesday.
son, and he's 25. If it's who I think it is.
Yeah.
Is that Melvin's?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I'm thinking.
I have made an offer to Chris to promote him to assistant to the engineer. I feel like he's been doing a lot of those duties here for the last few years, and been doing it well. And I think it's a good time for him to be able to fill in that role. Did a little bit of research trying to figure out where he should sit from a salary perspective, looking at surrounding counties, and worked with Chris on that. And $27 an hour is kind of what we had agreed upon and worked out. I think it fits really well with the surrounding counties there, depending on looking at experience. The one thing with being a shared county, it does put a little bit more onus on his shoulders because I'm not sitting there every day. So I do feel that's one thing that does put a little more responsibility on him. So, but I think that'll be a good thing moving forward to
We had that discussion with Ron quite a while ago, and when Don Henson retired, that kind of needed to be done quite a while ago. And I know Chris has been a good solid person out there.
Yep.
And, so I'm glad to see him here.
Yep, I kind
Move
of
forward with it.
was hoping to even get it done sooner than I did, but with everything else going on, I've been chasing my tail a little bit, but it was time. I agree with you on that.
You need does he need a motion for that, or that's just an activity for him?
That's just- That's what, okay.
Okay.
All right.
The annual Iowa County Engineers Association mid-year conference is coming up here in July, on July 9th. It's something I believe Ron has attended most years. I would like to go to that again.
Where's that?
It's in Ames. It's kind of multiple updates on things, but also trying to get to know some of the other fellow county engineers. I know some of them, but not everybody, and that's always a good thing to try to know your peers and who to ask for advice on certain things. So,
Yeah, I have no problem with you going.
okay.
Sounds good.
And I don't know what Ron had done in the past and whether he's been asking for approval on these things or not. I guess I wanted to.
I kind of think he reported that he was going to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's,
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, and
that's right.
I wanted to be.
no, that's fine, but that's,
Certainly a good idea for you to go and because there are people that I know when we go for supervisor meetings, you get as much information from just visiting with your colleagues as you do
Right.
sometimes in some of the presentations.
Right.
Good idea.
Last thing on my report, my employment contract. I did meet with the Calhoun board this morning. Basically, there's 3 things in here that I've, other than the dates that I changed, but it would be for a full year, starting July 1 through next June. From a salary standpoint, moving from $85,000 a year to $90,000 a year. And then the vacation, we had in a 1 week for the first 4 months, moving to 3 weeks for the full year. The same proration as what was what I had in the first contract. And then the third thing that I looked into was a cell phone reimbursement.
I guess how do you want to resolve that?
The way I have this set up is that I put it in the section for reimbursements. So basically, Calhoun County would reimburse me, and I had it set at $40 per month, trying to be a reasonable amount, where they would reimburse me, and then half of that would get billed back to Sac County, just like we do for miles and my salary and whatever else that we have. I thought with the way things are set up now, that it's only fair to split that cost. So,
This is not part of the contract, but what did you end up doing for a vehicle, or how did they proceed with that?
I drove Ron's for the last 4 months about here. We had two vehicles in the budget to get replaced, and the one I was driving was a 2006 that had just over 100,000 miles. Was time for that one to go. Ron held on to that a couple times, I think, when he could have been switching it out. So we did move that one down into the fleet, and we got 2 new vehicles, one of which I got. So
In Calhoun County.
Yep. So that'd be through their budget, reimbursed the half mileage.
Yep. Okay. Any discussion or concern?
And here's I guess I did do 3 copies. It's like I said, it's other than those 3 items, that's all that was changed.
When we considered your employment, that we were on the low end of kind of where we knew we needed to be in.
I did some looking. There was 4 counties that I believe have been shared counties for quite a while, and looked at their range of where they're at, and they're in that 110 to 120 range. So I think obviously they've had probably some more experience, been there for longer too. So I understand that part of it.
And that was part of the consideration when you came on. When we were doing our interviewing and things, some had a higher requirement, but they had maybe 10 years in the county engineering experience. So,
Right.
I'm good with these changes.
I'll make a motion to accept Zach's contract, so.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor indicate by before I call for the question, is this contingent upon Calhoun's?
Calhoun has signed.
They have approved it
They've
today.
approved it.
All right.
Just for your note, Gary was absent, so I'm going to write him in as absent. But
Okay.
the other two board members were
just wanted
present.
to be sure that
Right,
we're on
right.
the same page. All right,
Yep.
I will now call for the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll sign.
Thank you.
I guess as part of the consideration or discussion, you have any concerns or anything that you want to talk with us about how this is working or?
No, not really. I've learned a lot. I'll tell you that in the first 4 months. I think I'm feeling a lot more comfortable in what I'm doing. There's new things that pop up every day. I won't say that because I think there always will be. But I think getting Chris to the assistant to the engineer position is a good start because that's going to hopefully allow us to keep moving forward. I want to have some discussions with him as far as whether we want to add another staff member to kind of fill that void. With a lot of projects that we have going on, I guess starting, there's a lot of design that needs to happen, and there may be a need for that. But I want to talk with that a little bit with Chris and get his feel on that as well. I haven't dove into that yet, I guess, with him. But
Dean, you missed one here.
In our conversation the other day, we were talking about if we do at some point have that replacement, we'll need somebody with the CAD skills as far as the design.
I really think so. I mean that's a big part of doing this. I mean there is more to the job than CAD skills. I mean there's the field work and the understanding the DOT rigmarole as far as jumping through their hoops, but understanding CAD. I mean Chris is very
Three.
good at designing. Should be 3.
Oh, there it is. Is this one of these for?
One of those for you. Yep. If you would write absent on Gary's.
I will.
You did.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, with Highway 20 coming up year after next, there's just a lot of sitting,
There-
running, not sitting, but you're observing.
Right. I've even found that this year with 196. That's a weekly meeting that I try to attend, depending on what my schedules are, and just trying to keep up with, whether it's, dust control or trying to keep up with, whether it's keeping gravel on the road or whatever it is. I mean, obviously I'm not doing that. Mike's handling a lot of it, but a lot of it still comes through me. So there's a lot of, whether it's phone calls and direction given and whatever, it's just another feather in the cap to deal with, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. So I trying to find time to actually do the design work and push projects forward has been challenging, I guess is the way I'll put it, just because there's a lot of other stuff to take care of as well. So that's where I think I'm hoping to rely on Chris to be able to help lead the charge on that, and if he has another person to help do some of that work, I think it'll be a good thing. But like I said, I do want to talk with him about that and get his 2 cents. Make sure for the long haul that's the right thing to do for our office.
Have you had any conversation with Ron as far as his longevity? I know he's towards the retirement age.
A little bit. In the short term, I think he's still planning on sticking around for at least a couple more years. Beyond that, I don't really know for sure. And I expressed my interest in whenever he feels it's time for him is perfectly fine. But at the same point in time, any heads up on that would be appreciated
And
to be able to
he's
try
got
to.
a lot of good experience.
He does, and that's why I want to be able to harness some of that too. I mean, historically, he's done a lot of the project closeout with the DOT work, and I've done some of that. In my previous endeavors, there's probably 6 or 7 projects I closed out, and that can be challenging trying to get all the paperwork in order and all that. And I know Chris knows how to do it, and he's done some of it, but definitely not to the extent that Ron has. So there's a lot of experience to be gained there before he leaves. That
Right.
if we do get someone in, that could be learned. So there's lots of benefits, I think, to that.
Okay.
That's one thing I guess I've learned in my previous employment is that whether someone that's been experienced, whether they did it the right way or the wrong way, there's a lot to be learned and a lot to be gained from 40 years worth of doing something. That's pretty valuable.
Absolutely.
I've got to pass along a compliment for the secondary roads. Sac County had a landowner that owns land in Sac and Crawford County.
Okay.
And he said he had driveways built in both of them, and Sac County was done within 2 weeks, and Crawford County was 9 months and still hadn't had it done yet. So he wanted to compliment the secondary roads because he said it was very good.
Do you have any idea if we have a waiting list for that kind of stuff?
I don't. I would expect there'd be a little bit of one. I know in Calhoun we have a long list over there, and especially when you have springs like this, it's hard to keep up on that. I mean, it's just you try to deal with the immediate things first, and sometimes the driveways or the ditch cleaning or whatever it might be end up getting pushed a little bit. But I know Mike does a real good job trying to stay after that, so I will pass that along.
And he also said the gravel roads were way better shape in Sac County than Crawford
He was
County
really
too.
complimentary.
Yeah, he was.
Wow.
Really nice guy, but now.
That's good to hear. That's good to
Yeah.
hear. I'll pass that along.
Excellent. Any other business? Jim?
To adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thanks, Zach.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.